Pablo, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Thank you for the like as well, Pablo. JP, good to see you as well, brother. How you doing? Evening. How you been? What's up, Miles? What's up, CMF? Kerry, good to see you. How you been? Mike, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? Tor, evening, Miles and all CMF. Good to see you as well, Tor. How you doing? How you been? Morning, Miles and CMF. Shelly, good to see you as well. Morning. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Ring Favor, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? T, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Lena, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? A lot of things have been happening since yesterday. We talked on this live. A lot of geopolitical tensions are rising again. We have a lot of essentially speeches made by Donald Trump, which has impacted the crypto market space, the stock market as well. We have the United States now in some sort of a way getting involved in the matters of Israel and Iran, which that is one of the major reasons of why the crypto market space was impacted. Also, we do have the federal news coming out as well of essentially where the rates are going to be standing. Are we going to be having rate cuts finally from the Fed or not? That's also impacting the market space as well, because we don't know where essentially Jerome Powell stands, so far. Well, we know, mostly he stands on no rate cuts, but that possibility is what we need. Hello, Miles. Good to see you as well, KDC. How you doing? How you been? So, before we start this live show off, there's a lot of things to cover on tonight's live of what's happening around the world. What impact is it having on the crypto market space and the stock markets? Welcome to the CMF Live. If you're watching this for the first time ever, the CMF stands for Crypto Miles Family. My name is Miles. And in this live, I always talk about the most recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, regulations, pretty much everything you need to know about what's happening around you and how close we are to this digital future. The disclaimer of this live, as always, is essentially not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. Also, we do Q&As on this live as well, which means if you ever do have any questions or even a statement to make, put it down inside the comment section. More than happy to even read it out or give a response if it's a question. Now, a lot of things have been happening around the world. Also, I just want to take 1 second just to say thank you so much to everybody that's watching right now from the CMF, or even if you're new, that has already liked this live on X. I'm getting notifications right now from XJP. Thanks so much for that. Thanks so much to everybody that's liked the live on X, retweeted this live on X, and put a comment on this essentially on X, on the outside of X. And thanks so much to everyone on YouTube who's watching right now who's also liked the live as well. If you haven't done that, CMF members, take 5 seconds to like and retweet depending on where you're watching from, YouTube or X. Now, a lot of things have been happening around the world, essentially with the Iran situation, the Israel situation, and even now with Donald Trump hinting that the United States is about to be getting involved in this war. The UK also made some essentially announcements that they might be getting involved in this war if Iran continues to strike Israel in different locations without essentially precisely targeting military action, but just essentially residential actions. France, on the other hand, doesn't want essentially to be involved in some sort of a way because they don't want a regime change to be happening in Iran. And Germany is on the fence. They don't know where they stand, but they support Israel. The matter of the thing is that Israel is trying to make this regime change happen. And while this regime change is happening essentially in Iran, it's impacting obviously the crypto market space. No matter what we do, the Iranian government is always a nuisance to everybody. They terrorize people, and now they're impacting our crypto market space. But it is something that needs to be done. The Iranian government does need to be removed. And in fact, the operation that Israel has taken upon Iran is actually called the Lion Rising, which refers to essentially the Shah's flag with the lion and the sun. That's the operation's name. They're not actually going for the nuclear power plant situation, even though they are. They're actually going for a regime change in Iran because that's what they've named the operation, essentially the Rising Lion, which refers to the flag of the Shah of Iran. So it is happening, this regime change. But again, essentially, this is also impacting the crypto market space, it's impacting the stock market space, and so on. But it was something that needed to be done. Now, A lot of things to cover on tonight's live. A lot of geopolitical tensions, a lot of essentially announcements made, essentially with partnerships with crypto companies, bank announcements to go through on tonight's live as well. A lot of things to cover. Before I go through any of the news topics, the first one essentially being the geopolitical tensions, essentially the crypto market space, how it's affected, how the stock market is affected. Let's go to the comment section first, and then we go straight into the first news. So let's see where we were at. We were at here. Funky brother, good evening, Professor Miles and CMF family. Good to see you as well. How you doing? Good evening. Golden Dragon says, hi, Miles and family. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Bull XRP says, good evening, Miles and CMF. Good to see you as well. Bull XRP, how you doing? T says, seems like this bull run alt season is not going to ever start. It is, but it's also starting alongside a war, bad looks of it. Any XRP news tonight? Yes, towards the end of the live, we have 3 XRP news to cover. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Welcome back. Orphan, good to see you. So how you doing? How you been? And one of the XRP news essentially is an announcement of a partnership. Will the XRP case delay until 2026? We will not see some candy explosion on XRP this year, Harris says. Will essentially the XRP case be delayed all the way up to 2026? By the looks of it, no. Actually, Ripple put another motion, essentially another filing into motion, which is just to end this case and whatever needs to be handled on the sidelines. So no, it's not going to be 2026. It is going to be in Q3 to Q4. Miles, I heard there will not be an alt season as the crypto market is behaving like stocks. The only reason the crypto market is behaving like stocks is because we don't have rules and regulations. The moment we get rules and regulations coming mostly out of the United States is when we see crypto, essentially altcoins, moving in the right direction because regulations equals the utility, which means they can depart from following each other's footsteps and mainly following Bitcoin's footsteps. So regulations are not that far off. I mean, essentially the Genius Act is very close to be essentially passed, which is the first essentially crypto regulations to be passed inside the United States, which is major news. We also have other essential regulations and a package regulations to be passed inside the United States as well. Trump will take him down, is what Bull XRP is saying. Bull XRP is referring to the leader of Iran, saying that Trump will take him down. I agree 100%. If Trump doesn't take him down, Israel will definitely take out the leader of Iran, guaranteed. Funky Brother says there will not be like the old bull runs where you see 100% or more days. It will be like 5 to 10% a week. Yes, but when essentially regulations kick in, it will be a much more higher rate. After the Miles of CMF, peace, Semper, good to see you. Well, how you doing? How you been? Now, first news on tonight's live is the geopolitical tensions that are going on and how it's affecting the crypto market space and the stock market. So here it is. Geopolitical pressures shake the crypto market space. The cryptocurrency landscape is experiencing turbulence due to mounting geopolitical tariff and possible U.S. intervention, essentially impacting the assets and values. Bitcoin's price are essentially particularly being pushed downwards, influenced by those growing uncertainties. Adding to the volatility, the Federal Reserve's imminent meeting introduces essentially further imminent unpredictability inside the market space, potential swaying investors essentially moods. As these challenges unfold, altcoins are also facing setbacks by impending tariff deadlines. Recent news also from Germany of a potential tariff agreement offers a glimmer of hope, possibly encouraging a market rebound by July's midpoint. Amidst this, new cryptocurrency listings are emerging, providing a measure of essential respite for investors seeking fresh opportunities. Geopolitical tensions are ramping up, pressuring global financial markets significantly right now. The National Security Council president delivered decisive remarks about Iran's nuclear advancements, offering a focus on addressing threats without exception. Simultaneously, Fox News indicates that the U.S. military strategies against Iran, including targeting nuclear sites, are being comprehended right now. These reports, backed by 2 senior White House officials, underscores the gravity of the situation. When Trump made the speeches or the tweets that he made today referring to he might be getting involved inside the Israel and Iran war, is when we saw the crypto market space tumble slightly and the stock market with it. Certain stocks obviously went up in price. Oil is going to go up in price, and certain essentially military private companies are going to go up in price as well. As these events unfold, financial markets face uncertainty, striving to balance fragile geopolitical situations with economic outcomes. The crypto market's behavior amidst these fluctuations will likely stay volatile as global scenarios gain clarity. Investors are readying essentially for market shifts, closely monitoring geopolitical tensions and economic strategies. Still, the crypto market continues to offer new investment paths, proving its resilience in enduring this adversity. Oil futures jumped fast essentially today after Donald Trump went online and fired a direct threat at Iran's supreme leader. West Texas immediate essentially WTI surged more than 2.5% to hitting 73 essentially 0.6 cents, $73.06 per barrel, reaching its highest price in 5 months. Traders reacted instantly to Trump's call for unconditional surrender from Tehran, and his essentially warning to the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was now essentially an easy target. The post came during rising Middle East tensions after 5 straight days of back and forth attacks between Israel and Iran. Trump's post read, "We know exactly where the so-called supreme leader of Iran is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, at least for now." That is essentially what made the crypto market space tumble slightly. He also added that the US patience was running low and made it clear that he did not want any more missiles aimed at American troops or civilians. Trump rejects Israel's strike plan, then escalates it anyway. Trump's easy target threat landed just 48 hours after reports came that he had blocked an Israeli plan to assassinate Khamenei. He didn't deny that part, but what he did do was to crack the heat even higher. After saying that the US has total control over Iran's airspace, he pushed the conflicts closer to military actions by flat out demanding Iran to give up completely. Israel's essentially Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday essentially tried to cool down talks of a fallout with Trump over the blocked operations. "I wouldn't rush to conclusions," he said, brushing it off, but the timing was clear. Israel's attack essentially on Friday hit Iranian military and nuclear sites and kicked off a missile exchange that is still essentially ongoing. That strike, while tagged a premature, of essentially launched 5 full days of warfare. The Pentagon right now is sending more US warships into the region. NBC News confirmed essentially today that another aircraft carrier is on the way to the Middle East right now. Earlier deployments had already helped Israel's intercept missiles and drone essentially actions. Now the US military's presence is growing again, and very fast. Trump scheduled essentially a situation room meeting for later today with his top national security advisors with him. But the message from the president suggests a shift. His public post essentially this time went way beyond just supporting Israel. Now he seems open to more direct American involvements in this fight between Iran and Israel. The Strait of Hormuz essentially traffic drops as tankers dodge crossfire. So Iran is essentially saying to the rest of the world that they're going to put some sort of pressure on economic balance through the Strait of Hormuz, essentially where all the shipping essentially goes through. Mostly is also so for essentially for the Asian countries. Iran is trying to create some sort of an economic pressure so the rest of the world gets involved and stops Israel from missiling them pretty much into the ground. The shipping world didn't take long to respond. Some oil tankers and cargo ships are already avoiding essentially the Strait of Hormuz. According to essentially the largest shipping group in the world, this narrow stretch of water connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea, and it's also one of the most important routes for the oil industry. In 2023, daily oil traffic through the strait averaged around 20.9 million barrels, making up 20% of the petroleum liquids consumed globally. Now, thanks to the rockets flying over the Middle East, and the key passage is looking riskier by the hour. So essentially, shipping companies are not risking it going through the Strait of Hormuz, and 20% of the world's oil was going through that shipping route. Now they're essentially rerouting to some other locations because they're afraid of missiles maybe hitting them, or Iran, essentially, or even the Iranian government attacking certain oil tankers and so on to one, push the price of oil up, and two, create some sort of an economic pressure. Ship owners are steering clear of it, and also the Red Sea, especially after Iran threatened to close off traffic. Dubai's massive Jebel Ali port, one of the region's biggest container hubs, is also essentially being impacted. Those ports move goods essentially across South Asia, East Africa, and other parts of the Persian Gulf using the feeder networks. Israel's surprise attacks that happened essentially on Friday on Iran's military assets was followed by 4 days of rocket fire between the two countries. The shipping industry saw that it had to hit some sort of a pause button. More cautious behavior followed instantly, with logistics companies watching the map closely. Delays are expected. Higher oil prices are the only part of the damage so far. Wall Street even felt the pressure too. The S&P 500 dropped 0.8% today as the markets tracked the fallout. The Dow Jones essentially lost 325 points, and the Nasdaq fell by 1%. Investors were hit with a double whammy. conflict essentially headlines and weak US retail essentially sale numbers. The fear also was essentially real that the Middle East fight could stretch, drag in more players and hit the energy flows also. Price for Brent, essentially crude with WTI, both jumped over 3% right now, whipping out essentially losses from Monday. Traders had thought that Iran was looking for a truce, but Trump's post flipped the entire script. Trump is no longer looking for a truce, essentially deal or some sort of a nuclear power deal with Iran. Trump is not looking forward to that anymore. This is now a takeover, which is essentially what's happening, which is actually not that bad. A lot of people might be surprised right now who are watching, or people are watching around the world in other essentially scenarios. But some people think essentially that Iran, they're posting Iran has the right to defend itself. Why doesn't Iran have essentially nuclear power? Why can the US have nuclear power? The same reason why Germany can't have nuclear power, Iran is for the same reason as well. It just can't be trusted. Iran cannot be trusted with nuclear power. And by the way, if anybody's watching this for the first time ever, I'm Persian myself. I'm Iranian myself. And I'm telling you right now, the Iranian government can't be trusted with a pencil, never mind nuclear power. So on that matter, the oil markets knows the Strait of Hormuz isn't just a transit zone for fuel. It's also a huge deal for the global freight right now. The region's top ports like Jebel and essentially Cornwall Franklin are essentially the shipping points for all these shipping companies. It seems like the price of oil is about to go rocketing high the longer this war essentially continues in these days. Also, these facilities pass goods along global chains and feed nearby markets. If tensions stay high, the cost of moving cargo through these routes will go up too. Right now, any disruptions to oil shipments through the Hormuz means instant price jumps. It also creates delays in supply chain, spikes in insurance rates, and leaves a cloud of uncertainty over the entire region. If Iran for even a second decides to essentially close down the Strait of Hormuz, which means essentially all these shipping containers will not be able to pass through, the rest of the world is going to get involved in backing Israel and taking down the Iranian government even further. I'll be honest, it looks like there's nothing left from the Iranian government, just a few members still standing by themselves, which, in my point of view, it shouldn't take too long for Israel to finish the job. I'll be very honest. A very, 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 very long time ago, the Persian Empire helped the Jews. They freed the Jews. You fast forward to today in 2025, Israel is returning the favor by helping the Iranian people to be freed from this treacherous, corrupt regime that's inside of Iran right now. So I'm telling you right now, the moment essentially the Iranian people are freed from this treacherous government in Iran, they're going to be celebrating it for the rest of their lives. And the day essentially Ali Khamenei dies will be celebrated by the entire day as an international holiday, believe it or not. But there are a lot of people out there that are essentially supporting Iran, and they're saying Iran needs to have nuclear power. Why can't have nuclear power? Iran needs to be essentially, Iran has the right to defend itself. I'll be very honest. This might come as a shock to all the liberals out there that are supporting Iran. The Iranian people don't support the Iranian government. Why are you supporting the Iranian government? Honestly, the people of Iran don't support the Iranian government. Why are liberals in the West supporting the Iranian government, holding up placards saying, defend Iran, Iran has the right to defend itself? It makes zero sense. When the people of that country don't support the government, why are liberals supporting the Iranian government in the West? But to be fair, liberals have never been able to stand on the right side of history. They've always stood on the wrong side of history. But honestly, the Iranian people are excited that finally somebody is able to free them from this corrupt government. They're jumping up and down and celebrating and singing in Iran right now, believe it or not. And I know that networks like Al Jazeera will never publish these types of videos because they want to show that Iran is in misery right now. The people of Iran are standing behind the government. And the reality of it is, no, it's not. Nobody in Iran with any brain cells is standing behind the Iranian government. The only people that are standing behind the Iranian government are morons and people who are paid to do it. The morons are doing it for free. The people that are paid, well, they're being paid to support the Iranian government. And also, the operation essentially for taking out the Iranian government is actually called the Rising Lion, which refers to obviously the Iranian flag. And also the Shah of Iran, the king of Iran, essentially the crown prince of Iran, made a very massive speech today stating that he is pretty much ready to come back to Iran. So it is the ending of the Iranian regime and the starting of a new Iran without the Republic, or essentially without the Islamic Republic of Iran. It's an incredibly beautiful, essentially, we're going to have incredibly beautiful days ahead for Iran and for the Middle East and for the rest of the world, to be fairly honest. Removing the Iranian government makes the Middle East safer, makes the entire world safer. Because when the Shah of Iran was in power, there were no wars in the Middle East. Zero. When the Shah of Iran was in power, there was 0 wars in the Middle East. When the Shah of Iran left, his final speech to the people of Iran was, if I go, Iran goes. If I go, the Middle East goes. If I go, the world goes. The Shah of Iran left. Well, you can tell what happened next. Iran fell, the Middle East went into war 24/7, and the world pretty much went with it. So, honestly, we cannot wait for this. Essentially, we cannot wait for Israel to take out this essentially treacherous government. So, honestly, a big thank you to Israel's government for doing the right thing and essentially helping out the Iranian people. Because the Iranian people have stood up so many times. They stood up during Trump's first presidency, and Trump didn't do anything about it. The Iranian people then stood up again, and Obama did nothing about it. The Iranian people stood up again, and Joe Biden did nothing about it. And they stood up again, and now Israel is here to help them out. The same way, essentially, the Persian Empire helped the Jews and freed the Jews during that time, Israel is returning the favor by helping out the Iranian people. So thank you, Israel, on that matter. Now, JD Group is what we're going to talk about right now, but also, all of this situation is, essentially affecting the crypto market space, is affecting the stock market. Essentially, the Iranian government is always a nuisance to everybody. Honestly, they're a nuisance to Iran, they're a nuisance to the Middle East, they're a nuisance to the world market space, the stock market, the crypto market space. They're just a cancer that needs to be removed, to be fairly honest. They are a massive cancer that just needs to be removed, the Iranian government. So thank you, Israel, for that. Now, moving on from that to essentially JD Group, who is essentially licensing for a faster payments to be happening in terms of global stablecoins. Before we go through that news, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into that news. As I said previously, this is live as as I've always said. If you do have any comments or statements to make, put it down to the comment section. More than happy to read out your statements, read out your questions, and even essentially help you out. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the first news regarding essentially global licensing payment systems and cross-border payments is what's happening right now. Also, in times of war, cryptocurrencies could become useful because they're a faster way of making payments and delivering arms, essentially. Now, and also just want to point this out. One thing that everybody needs to understand, China is essentially coming out for a peace treaty. China wants Iran to have a peace treaty with essentially Israel and for this war to stop. China is not doing it because they care about peace. China has a tremendous amount of contracts with the Iranian government for essentially getting oil from Iran. Free, you could pretty much say, at the price that China is getting oil. When the Shah of Iran returns, when Reza Pahlavi returns, China's contracts will fall through. That is why China is coming out and saying, there should be peace in the Middle East between Israel, essentially, and Iran. And China's not playing the peaceful card. They're playing it because they have no option. When the Shah of Iran returns, China's illegal contracts will fall through. But China always loses anyways. The Chinese government never wins anything. Russia, essentially, is standing on the fence. They don't want to back the Iranian government because it's too obvious, and they don't care as much either. France, in this situation, Macron, obviously he's a weasel. He's always been a weasel who married his own father. Macron essentially saying a regime change should not be happening in Iran. The reason why Macron is saying this is because Macron, not Macron himself, but France helped the Iranian government, the Islamic Republic of Iran, to come to a stage of where they're standing right now. Germany doesn't really give two S's about this situation at all. The UK is sitting on the fence, but now they're coming out and saying they're backing Israel. The US didn't really want to start a war in any sort of a way at all. And obviously Israel doesn't care. But thank you, Israel, for not caring about anybody else's opinion and helping out the Iranian people. Just want to point this out. When the Shah of Iran returns to Iran, the reason why the US, essentially Germany, the UK, Russia, China, and so on, and France didn't want a regime change to happen in Iran is because when the Shah of Iran returns, all of these countries have to pay up. The US has to pay up to essentially the royal family of Iran because There was a lot of contracts that fell through when that revolution happened in Iran. So the US has to pay up, the UK has to pay up, France has to pay up, Germany has to pay up, Russia has to pay up some certain amounts, and China's contracts will just fall through completely. Israel owes $0 to Iran. So that's why Israel doesn't care. But that's why those countries cowered away for all these years and decided not to help out the Iranian people, because they didn't want to pay up money that's actually belonging to the royal family of Iran and belonging to the Iranian people, because they paid for certain things that never got, because the revolution happened, essentially. But Israel doesn't care. And that's why Israel strikes. And at that time, the Shah of Iran was actually very close friends with Israel, even though they didn't trust each other, because no country does. But there was certain levels of, essentially respect between them, which will be restored when he's back. So essentially, that is why those countries were cowering away for all these years, not helping out the Iranian people when every time the Iranian people stood up, because all those countries owe money. And obviously, they're not going to be paying back that money when the Shah of Iran comes back. However, they will probably do investments in Iran so they can profit and also pay tributes, essentially, in that matter. Also, the level of power the Shah of Iran had, they're pretty much scared of that returning as well. The Shah of Iran had a lot of power, but he didn't misuse the power. And that's the point here. The Shah of Iran had a lot of power, but he didn't misuse it. The Iranian government has no power, but they misuse it all the time. So they realized that maybe 50 years ago was a big mistake to bring this regime. But honestly, thank you to Israel for not giving an S about anybody else's feelings and opinions, not caring about what the UK, the US, Germany, France, Russia, and China has to think. And Israel just did the best job. Just said, no, we've had enough. This is coming to an end. And we're going to do what should have been done a long time ago, which is to take out the Iranian government and replace it back with the Shah, and restore peace in Iran, restore peace in the Middle East, and restore peace to the rest of the world. So thank you, Israel, honestly. Let's go back inside the comment section, obviously, before we go through the next news. Let's see where we're at. We were at here. Hi, Miles and CMF. George, good to see you. How you doing? Manny, good to see you. How you doing? Good evening, Miles and CMF. How you doing, Manny? Good evening. George, good to see you. How you doing? Golden Dragon. Miles, all that's happening now with Iran is, you called it way back. It's true, I did call it way back. I said essentially the regime change is coming last year. I said the regime change is coming. That's facts. Even Miles of CMF, Joe, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Even Miles of CMF, Davey, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Rob, the normal person doesn't care about the stock market. Well, that's why the normal person doesn't make a lot of money in their world, essentially in their life, essentially, and stay where they are. Trump is convicted, essentially, and cheats on all of his wives, doesn't pay his H bills, and is supported by American Christians, which is the exact opposite of Jesus. Rob, that's your opinion. It's not factual information. I've always said everybody is entitled to an opinion. Everybody in this world is entitled to an opinion, but facts are facts. Nobody cares about opinions. So it is true that the case is paused for another 2 months. What does that mean exactly? It's not paused for another 2 months. There's actually been another filing with the Ripple case as well, for it just to come to an end, and whatever needs to be done to be happening in the background. But we'll get into the Ripple situation towards the endings of the life. Happy Pisces says, Maus, apologies if too political. The people seem to forget what happened to the lovely young girl when she didn't wear her headscarves properly and her hair was showing, or something. That horrific event that affected the entire world, screaming against the horrific events, and now, which is facts. A lot of people have forgotten, essentially. The people that are supporting the Iranian government, please just remember that the Iranian government terrorizes their own people. The Iranian government terrorizes their own people, ruins their own people's lives. And there are so many things that the Iranian government has done to its own people that I cannot even say on live, because it's actually too traumatizing for anybody to hear, and I don't even know if I can say it on live. But the Iranian government has treated its own people like cattle. It just blows my mind. There are people in the West, liberal people in the West, with colored hair, holding up placards supporting the Iranian government. If those liberals with colored hair went to Iran, they'll probably be in prison or worse. But, it's like chickens supporting KFC, is what once essentially Ayatollah said. The Prime Minister of Israel once made a speech that when he sees liberals supporting essentially certain groups, it's like chickens supporting KFC. There's no word of a lie on that matter. Or something, that horrific event that affected the entire world, screaming against the horrific governments, and now, yes, facts. Honestly, it's tiring, yes. The Iranian, happy passage, Nessie, good to see how you do. The Iranian people need to really be freed once and for all. Facts. Miles, you're praising Israel for what they are doing to Iran, but don't forget what they are doing to Gaza's. Netola is a bloody monster and a criminal who's wanted, should be arrested and jailed. Israel is dragging the US into this war. Israel is just doing it for their own political gains. They get Iran, they get the Middle East. Yes, facts. Israel is doing it for their own political gains, but at the same time, it's actually helping the Iranian people. So it's two birds, one stone right now. So many people from Iran are against the Shah. Just the lefties want the government out. No, actually, it's the right that wants the government out. The lefties want the government to stay. Now, JD Group is what we talk about next. JD Group seeks global stablecoin licenses for faster payments is what we'll talk about next. So a company essentially based in China is trying to get licensing, global licensing, to be able to do cross-border payments, which is incredible for the digital space. Also perfect timing. You could say Genius Act is happening right now. JD Group Chairman Lee announced intentions to secure stablecoin licenses globally to enhance cross-border payments efficiency at a certain, essentially recent session in China. This aims to revolutionize traditional payment systems by cutting costs significantly and delivering faster transaction times globally. JD Group, spearheaded by Chairman Lee, plans to apply for a stablecoin license in major markets worldwide. This bold, essentially, initiative targets the global B2B payment sector, aiming to essentially enhance not only cost efficiency, but also processing speed. By pursuing these licenses, JD Group expects to reduce cross-border payments costs by 90%, allowing essentially transactions to finalize within seconds. Traditional cross-border payments currently require up to 4 days for completion, including essentially high transaction fees. Through its subsidiaries, JD is essentially already piloting solutions to overcome these hurdles and prioritizing B2B allowances for possibly expanding the consumer applications. The group's ambitions represents a shift towards streamlined global financial exchanges, aligning with trends in speedy, cost-effective trades. China right now essentially is trying to get more involved. A Chinese firm essentially trying to get more involved in cross-border payments, especially in stablecoins, as America is getting very close to passing the Genius Act, the stablecoin regulation. Despite the lack of essentially direct government commentary, industry observers are closely monitoring JD's movements. Analysts note that essentially previous corporate attempts like Facebook's Libra faced regulatory barriers that question the broader feasibility of such endeavors. In JD's essentially case, by focusing first on regional regulatory compliance through Hong Kong's fintech essentially sandboxes, the company may better navigate potential regulatory challenges. JD's planned global stablecoin could catalyze a shift in traditional B2B frameworks, subjecting to established protocols like SWIFT to competitiveness pressures, and increasing resilience on stablecoins could foster deeper financial essential integrations and technological advancements in global payments. So right now, one Chinese firm has decided to go global with stablecoin payments, trying to acquire much licenses as they can in different market spaces to be more advanced as the United States is passing a Genius Act for stablecoin regulations. The stablecoin market space is going to become absolutely humongous. Now, moving on from the Chinese essentially company that's trying to do this to OpenAI. Everybody's very familiar with ChatGPT. An ex-OpenAI essentially member has decided to launch a crypto payroll platform. Here it is. Volatile's launch highlights a shift towards integrating blockchain in payroll, offering essentially faster and exclusive payment solutions. This move essentially could influence the broader financial landscape and attract institutional interest. A former OpenAI professionals have unveiled Volatile aiming to essentially redefine payroll payments, headed by Joey. The initiative combines blockchain, AI, and regulatory-ready processes to deliver flexible financial solutions to global communities. He said, we have designed essentially the Volatile card to redefine the global payroll landscapes, making payments faster and safer and more exclusive by combining blockchain, AI, and top-tier infrastructure. We deliver flexible finance directly to communities that need it most, said Joey, the CEO of this company. Joey, Alan, and essentially Valerie's spearheaded Volatile, leveraging their expertise from OpenAI and Opera, essentially browser. Volatile's native Vol token, listed on major exchanges, has attracted substantial market interest, highlighting the project's potential impact. So if anybody wants to go and check them out, VOL is the ticker of essentially this project, and it's from former essentially OpenAI essentially members that's come together to create this payment system inside the crypto space. Volatile's entry into the crypto payroll sector may influence DeFi markets and stablecoin flows. The Vol token's rapid value increase reflects speculative demand and possible liquidity shifts impacting traditional financial systems. The launch of Volatile's platform underlines the key financials and compliance outcomes. Its connection to AI and regulatory adherence highlights potential transformations within the global financial infrastructures, emphasizing blockchain applications in real-world scenarios. Volatile may set essentially a precedent for future payroll solutions with emphasis on regulatory compliance and technological advancements. This initiative could redefine how digital assets integrate with payroll, spurring essentially further developments in financial ecosystems. So, new crypto project, if anybody wants to go essentially and check them out, VOL is the token, essentially ticker, and essentially it's been made by former OpenAI, essentially employees. Never buy anything you don't understand. Look into it, research it if you want to. If you want to go for it, go for it. If you don't want to, don't go for it. Not financial advice at all. Now, Ukraine is what we're going to talk about next. Apparently, Ukraine is getting ready to launching some sort of a Bitcoin national reserve. Even though Ukraine is still going on an ongoing situation with Russia, Ukraine has time to create their own Bitcoin bill. The bill, filed under registration number 13356, was introduced during the 13th session of the IX essentially convention that was happening. It falls under the economic policies and is backed by the coalition of the Ukrainian lawmakers, including Yuroslav and other members. The proposed amendment seeks to allow the National Bank of Ukraine to diversify its reserve holdings by incorporating Bitcoin and other virtual assets alongside traditional assets like gold and foreign currency. So Ukraine is about to be getting involved in Bitcoin. I mean, Ukraine has been doing quite a bit of money laundering as well, to be fairly honest. Makes sense why they want to go towards cryptocurrencies, but even better for us, people that are inside the crypto space, because more money is going to be added to the pools. The liquidity is getting bigger. Essentially, the bill has been forwarded to several key committees, including the Finance, Tax, and Customs Policy Committee, the Committee on Digital Transformations, the Committee on Budget, the Committee on Anti-Corruption Policies, the Committee on European Integration. Supporters of the bill argue that including Bitcoin in national reserves would not only modernize Ukraine's financial infrastructure, but also strengthen its economic resilience and growing global interest in decentralized digital assets. This move places Ukraine among the growing number of nations exploring a state-level Bitcoin adoption. The legislative push comes as more governments seek to hedge against inflation, sanctions, and geopolitical risk by diversifying their sovereign reserves and portfolios. If passed, the bill could make Ukraine one of the first European nations to legally authorize Bitcoin as a part of its national reserves and strategies, marking a major milestone in crypto global integrations. So even though Ukraine is going through still an ongoing war, they still have time to create a crypto essentially bill. While Sleepy Joe had 4 years to create something for the crypto space, and he still couldn't. And Ukraine is going through a war, they're still able to figure out a crypto bill. That should speak volumes for how useless the Biden administration was. Genius Act is what we're going to talk about next. So on the topic of bills, Genius Act is going to be the first stablecoin bill that's going to be passed inside the United States. Genius Act could essentially strengthen the dollar's power, a essentially right rule book for global financial systems. So as we all know, essentially the world is going, full on digital now. The rest of the world is pretty much involved, and stablecoins are going to be playing a massive, massive role for a volatile market space. And the Genius Act is going to open up a lot of doors for certain companies like Circle with USDC, Ripple with RLUSD, and well, there's Tether on the other end of the spectrum with USDT, but I don't think they'll get approved, but time will tell. The Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for US Stablecoins Act, known as Genius Act, now faces a key vote in the United States Congress, and the stakes for cryptocurrency industries are high right now. If the US state, the upper chamber of countries and Congress, passes the Genius Act to regulate stablecoins, a soaring big win for crypto industries and for the Trump administration. which is supporting the essential legislation right now. The bill's next stop is the House of Representatives, where it will undergo further scrutiny from lawmakers. The Senate voted 68-30 to advance the bill essentially on June 11th, opening the Genius Act up to amendments before a final vote. Several Democrats joined the majority of Republicans to win the cloture of votes, with some echoing US President Donald Trump's desire to make the country the crypto capital of the world. In the lead up to the vote, industry voices have expressed a hopeful outlook. Coinbase's chief legal officer, Paul, sounded a positive note essentially on X ahead of the vote, highlighting its potential to bring regulatory clarity. Not everyone, essentially right now, not everybody is on board. However, critics argue that the Genius Act lacks adequate safeguards, particularly around the potential for self-dealing by entities authorized to issue stablecoins. And who is this person? Who is this major person who's against the idea of stablecoin regulations? Well, it's Pocahontas. It's Elizabeth Warren. I mean, as usual, Elizabeth Warren has to stand on the wrong side of history. I don't know who keeps on voting for Elizabeth Warren to become senator. She's absolutely useless head to toe. Senator Elizabeth Warren has been among the most vocal opponents, warning that the bill could actively facilitate misuse tied to Trump's crypto businesses. You know, Elizabeth Warren always does like to play the angel card of, as in, if she's perfect and has never done anything wrong or has, not continued to do something wrong in her life. But as I've always said, Elizabeth Warren's wage does not add up to Elizabeth Warren's portfolio. Where did all that money come from, Elizabeth Warren? Is the bigger question. She wants to blame Trump for misusing money. What about your portfolio, Elizabeth Warren? There's a million questions to be asked over there. Among key amendments to the legislation is a provision aimed at preventing essentially elected officials and their families from issuing stablecoins, a move intended to address some of the concerns about conflicts of interest. Essentially, if intact, the Genius Act could significantly reshape the landscape for the US crypto regulations. Industry stakeholders told Cointelegraph the legislation may help solidify the dollar's role in digital economies and lay the foundation for a more structured global financial framework. The Genius Act essentially would establish an oversight system for stablecoins, allowing issuers to register with the US government. In addition, issuers would be required to have a one-on-one backing for their stablecoins and face regular audits and submit to anti-money laundering regulations. According to the Russian Report, CEO of essentially OKX US, the Genius Act essentially is a strong signal that the US government is taking a programmatic approach to digital asset innovations. The act creates a vital bridge for traditional finance to explore blockchain-powered payments and settlements. For OKX, it clears regulations in key markets like the US, empowers us to build responsible, transparent infrastructure for global users, Robert said. The Genius Act not only essentially supports license innovation, but also lays the groundwork for interoperability between centralized and decentralized systems, a future we see eventable. Stablecoins are often seen as a key bridge between traditional finance and digital assets. These essentially fiat-pegged tokens could allow people around the world to easily send money across borders and fewer fees and pay goods for a variety of merchants. The legislation could also set stage for regulations of decentralized programmable money and potentially to blow up a much more essentially boost of regulations to be happening inside the crypto space. And if the US gets the right, it won't just lead the crypto market, it will write the rule book for the next financial global stage, was the statement that came out of this. Facts. Honestly, with the US essentially getting extremely close to a Genius Act being completely passed through, it's going to bring a tremendous amount of eyes on the crypto space, a tremendous amount of liquidity to the crypto space through stablecoins. And the stablecoins that are going to be taking the ranks, it's obviously going to be USDC and RLUSD. USDT is, for now, the biggest stablecoin on the planet. I don't think it's going to stay like that forever. I'll be very honest. Because the US's rules and regulations for the stablecoin space is not working out in the favor of USDT right now. And USDT Tether is technically registered in El Salvador, which makes it even worse. Not because there's something wrong with El Salvador. There's nothing wrong with El Salvador. It's because it's not an American company. And we all know where Trump stands, America first. And Tether's not an American company. If Tether does become an American company, that means they're going to be audited through in and throughout. And I don't think Tether wants that. Because if they wanted to be audited, they would have just let the EU audit them. But they didn't. Now, JP Morgan. is what we're going to be talking about next on tonight's live. Before we talk about JP Morgan on tonight's live, let's go inside the comment section first. As previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions or statements to make, put it down inside the comment section. So let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into JP Morgan news. Good evening, Miles, and nice to see you. Callie, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Greetings, Miles and CMF. Ray, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles, sorry I had to jump off. I have annual general meeting with Alzheimer's Societies. Here's as a board member, must attend, but I really want to listen to the rest of this, so I will tune in later tonight on the replay. Good night, crypto family. Let's go, happy Pisces, and I'll see you tomorrow, happy Pisces. But you can watch the replay as you said. Let's go. Comatose, hey Miles and CMF, good to see you as well. Comatose, how you doing? How you been? Now, JP Morgan, honestly, happy Pisces. It's a great thing that you're doing right now, you know, being on the Alzheimer's Societies, as a board member on the Alzheimer's Societies. Well done to you, Pisces, honestly. Absolutely amazing. Now, JP Morgan. JP Morgan pilots their blockchain deposit tokens on Coinbase's network. So we talked about JP Morgan yesterday, launching their JPMD, essentially platform, a payments platform, crypto payments platform. Today, we're getting news that it's going to be on Coinbase's network, which makes more sense because the rest of essentially, the ETFs that have been happening and so on, with BlackRock, 21 shares and so on, it's all been with Coinbase anyways. So here it is. JP Morgan has launched a pilot program to issue deposit tokens on the blockchain, collaborating with Coinbase's base network. The pilot aims to explore blockchain's potential for seamless settlement solutions. The initiative underscores the significant move in connecting institutional payments with blockchain technology. JP Morgan's involvement signals heightened institutional interest in blockchain integration for scalable financial solutions. JP Morgan's deposit token pilot is set to inventory the base network's capabilities, aligning financial giants with public blockchain infrastructure. JP Morgan Chase, a leader in banking innovation along with Coinbase, backs this pilot with its Ethereum-based Layer 2 solution. Key figures from essentially JP Morgan emphasizes integrating private bank assets with blockchain to expand institutional transaction and benefits. A long time ago, people would have told you inside the crypto space that banks will never, ever operate on public blockchains. Well, the world's biggest bank is going to be using public blockchains. By securely and thoughtfully connecting our institutional payment solutions with both external public and private blockchain infrastructures seamlessly, we can offer our essentially clients and the broader financial ecosystems a wider range of benefits and scalable solutions for settling their transactions. By securing essentially and thoroughly connecting essentially institutional payment solutions with both external and these matters, the wide range of benefits and scalable essentially solutions for setting transactions, said Neil, the head platform at Settlement Solutions from JP Morgan. In May 2025, JP Morgan's similar blockchain engagement on Ondo's network marked its first blockchain treasury trade, showcasing essentially the bank's consistent exploration of innovations and financial solutions and boosting essentially public blockchain credibility. Research teams essentially view the pilot as a potential lever for financial digitalization, enhancing blockchain-based payments, and historical trends suggest increased liquidity for Ethereum and related assets, yet regulatory adjustments may follow as blockchain tokens and fiat converge. Just pointing out there, JP Morgan, as I said previously, is one of the past. JP Morgan hated cryptocurrencies, but now they're becoming one of the lovers of cryptocurrency. But the interesting matter is that the age-old question, will banks ever operate on public blockchains? A long time ago, people essentially would have said no inside the crypto space. And still, till this day, some people might still say no inside the crypto space, even though it's not true. But it seems like banks are going to be essentially using public blockchains. What does that tell you about the XRP ledger? Long time ago, if you told people that banks will use the XRP ledger, people would have said, you're crazy. Banks won't use the XRP ledger because it's public. But JP Morgan's using a public blockchain also. Just saying. Malaysia is what we're going to talk about next. Malaysia's digital asset, accelerating fintech future with new regulatory sandbox. Yesterday's live, we talked about a few other countries that are jumping on the bandwagon of cryptocurrencies in the Asian market space. And this is great to see more countries in the Middle East, more countries in the Asia essentially jumping on the bandwagon on this. Malaysia's digital assets. Accelerating fintech future with new regulatory sandbox. Malaysia is making a significant move in the world of finance and technology. The nation has officially launched a digital asset innovation hub, a development poised to reshape the landscape for the Malaysian digital asset sector, a broader fintech industry. This initiative isn't just another government program. It's a strategic step designed to provide a controlled environment for testing and developing cutting-edge financial technologies, particularly in those involving digital assets. Right now, essentially, Vietnam is involved in cryptocurrencies in that essentially market space, in that space of the continent. Vietnam is involved in crypto space. Singapore is heavily involved inside the crypto space. Thailand is involved inside the crypto space. Indonesia is essentially involved inside the crypto space. Australia is involved inside the crypto space. Philippines is involved inside the crypto space. And we're getting a mixture of countries just coming in back to back from the ASEAN essentially group. And one of them being Malaysia. It's great to see more countries adopting this idea, creating a digital sandbox where essentially certain tokens can be tested out before they get implemented on a larger scale within that jurisdiction. At its core, the hub includes a crucial element, a regulatory sandbox, overseen by the Bank Negara Malaysia, BNM Bank. The country's central bank, this sandbox essentially acts as a safe space. It allows companies from established fintech players to ambitious startups to experiment with new technologies, products, and services related to digital assets and other financial innovations without facing the full weight of existing regulations initially. Which means, for example, this digital sandbox that the Central Bank of Malaysia has created, companies like essentially Ripple essentially could come in, or companies like ACH could come in essentially, or XLM could go there and showcase themselves, or Cardano could go showcase themselves, Solana could go essentially showcase themselves, and for the Malaysian essentially government to choose which platform is the best one for them to choose. The Central Bank essentially of Malaysia, the BNM Bank, is not just an observer in this process, it's an orchestrator. BNM Bank's involvement is critical for several reasons. Ensuring stability. As the guardian of the financial stability, BNM Bank ensures that innovations tested within the sandbox do not pose systematic risk to the wider financial systems. Protecting consumers. BNM sets conditions within the sandbox to protect consumers participating in its testing and ensuring transparency and resources if necessary. Developing informed regulations, direct interactions with new technologies allows BNM to build regulatory expertise and craft future regulations that are effective and encourage responsible innovation to be happening in that market space. And maintaining confidence. BNM's central bank in Malaysia oversight provides a level of credibility and trust for both participating firms and the public regarding the safety and legitimacy of innovation being essentially explored. BNM's leadership in this initiative demonstrates a proactive stance towards managing the opportunities and risks presented in digital assets and broader financial fintechs. If you're wondering to yourself, what does that have to do with you living in a different country right now, or even if you're living in the West, what does Malaysia have to do with you? Well, it's just more money that's going to be added to the crypto space. We want the entire world inside the crypto space. So every time a new country decides to join the bandwagon of the crypto space, it's amazing news, to be fairly honest. Now, just means more liquidity. Spanish bank is what we're talking about next. So on the topic of banks, a Spanish bank advises its wealthy clients to invest in Bitcoin and digital assets. So here's the report. Spanish banking giant BBVA is reportedly advising its wealthiest clients to buy Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies essentially just months after announcing plans to offer cryptocurrency trading to its customers. According to a report by retainers, BBVA has advised its top money clients to essentially have 3% to 7% of their portfolios allocated to cryptocurrencies. The suggested allocation depends on the investor's risk appetite, said Felipe, the head of digital and blockchain solutions at VA Bank, the Switzerland bank essentially. Speaking at the essentially Digi Assets conference in London, Felipe revealed that the bank has been advising its private clients on investments, essentially on crypto assets, since 2024, but quietly. Now, however, the bank is advising its top clients to get involved in cryptocurrencies. The Spanish lender announced plans to offer crypto trading and custody services to customers in Spain. The initial rollout allowed a select group of private clients to purchase cryptocurrencies and has full access, gradually expanding to all private banking customers. The Spanish bank's Czech bank partner with crypto exchange to offer trading and custody services to banks. BBVA's move to actively recommend crypto exposure aligns with a growing trend among traditional financial institutions. Notably, the European Securities and Markets Authority has also previously warned that crypto could pose a risk to global financial stability, and essentially ESMA report also noted that most EU banks do not engage in crypto activities. Despite this, the overall sentiment is that more and more are willing to make that foray happen now. In the past, yes, banks were advised to not get involved in cryptocurrencies. Now, however, more banks by the second are joining the crypto space, you could say. Market experts believe it's a matter of time before banks begin stockpiling on crypto assets. BBVA, on its part, has essentially executed clients' requests for BTC purchases since 2021 when it launched Bitcoin trading for private clients in Switzerland. Elsewhere, essentially in the industry, JP Morgan also announcing that matter for themselves, and other banks that are getting involved, like the Malaysian Central Bank as well. So, a bank essentially in Spain is telling its top private clients to get involved inside the crypto space and start purchasing it. They're telling their top 7% of their bank's high-profile clients to get involved inside the crypto space now. Because what's going to be happening next is regulations. Regulations equals to utility. And utility equals to certain crypto projects hitting the moon. Because that's the whole point of crypto, utility, not buy, sell, buy, sell, buy, sell, and follow Bitcoin's footsteps. The point of cryptocurrency is utility, not stocks. This is crypto. Now, Wisdom Tree is what we talk about next. Before we talk about Wisdom Tree, let's go inside the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news, which is regarding Wisdom Tree. So let's see where we're at inside the comment section, and we're straight into the next news. As I said previously, this is live, which means, if you do have any questions or statements to make, put it down inside the comment section. I'm more than happy to read out your statements or comments that you might make. Now, let's see what's happening inside the comment section. Somebody's put USDT has lost minus 99% versus Bitcoin on its all chart. Even stable coins are losing a bet. He's also put, I think it's funny how people think that worldly events have an effect on Bitcoin. Only an OG knows that's nonsense. Well, technically you're not an OG in any sort of a way, because if you were, you wouldn't be saying that like a moron. When Russia and Ukraine went into war, what happened to Bitcoin? Did Bitcoin go up or did Bitcoin go down? Bitcoin went down. When China essentially threatened to go into a war with Taiwan, what happened to the Bitcoin? What happened to essentially crypto market space? Did it react in a positive way? No, crypto reacted in a negative way. When Israel essentially went into war with Palestine, what happened to the crypto market space? Did Bitcoin go up in price? No, Bitcoin came down in price. When Israel attacked Iran, did Bitcoin go up in price? No, it came down in price. So for that moron that commented inside the comment section, essentially, I think it's funny how people think that worldly events have effect on Bitcoin. Only an OG knows that's nonsense. Well, this is why I say everybody is entitled to an opinion. Everybody in this world is entitled to an opinion. But facts are facts. I'm sorry to say. And your opinion means jack squat in this matter. Because Russia and Ukraine, war, Bitcoin went down. China threatening Taiwan, Bitcoin went down. Israel, war with Palestine, Bitcoin went down. Israel, war with Iran, Bitcoin went down. Trump saying they're going to get involved in the Israel war with Iran, Bitcoin went down. Every worldly event, Bitcoin went down. This is why I say everybody's entitled to opinion, but facts are facts. Opinions do not matter. And then he said, look, man, I'll cut it to the chase. If you ain't lending your coins to earn free, predictable income and talking to others about it, then you failed the assignment. I'll be honest, I have zero clue what you're talking about. Just from that comment that you made regarding Bitcoin doesn't go down in price on world events, your credibility went down the toilet. Now, Shelly says, like and retweet the live. Also comment outside the live to support Miles. Let's go, Shelly, for saying that. Kerry says, I was looking for Vol on several exchanges. I cannot find it. I think it's going to be listed soon, to be fairly honest. Now, Wisdom Tree. We need rules and regulations. Facts. The faster we get rules and regulations, the faster low crypto projects can depart. Absolutely facts what Shelly said. Wisdom Tree is what we're going to talk about next. Wisdom Tree right now has applied for a lot of licensings with the United Kingdom to bring in more crypto assets to the space. So right now they're awaiting approval to be happening from the UK's Financial Conduct Authority, an approval for crypto ETPs. Wisdom Tree's plan to introduce crypto exchange traded products, ETPs, in the UK with institutional investors preparing to invest. On the forthcoming Financial Conduct Authority's approval, the upcoming approval is expected to draw substantial institutional funds into crypto and potentially enhancing the legitimacy and liquidity of crypto assets. WisdomTree is preparing to launch a crypto ETPs in the United Kingdom pending the FCA's approval. This move follows a survey indicating 40% of professional investors are interested right now increasing their digital asset exposure by 2025. 40%, according to WisdomTree's essentially report paper, 40%, 40%, or right now in the institutional sector wanting to get involved inside the crypto space. That's a very high number. Alexis, the head of Europe at WisdomTree, highlighted the importance of providing a diversified entry point into the crypto market. Institutional investors are primary audiences with regulatory barriers easing. Alexis, essentially head of Europe at WisdomTree, stated this ETP provides a highly diversified entry point into the crypto ecosystem, further demonstrating access to historical difficult parts of the market to get exposure to. Institutional involvement in UK's ETP premises substantial essentially new capital flows, potentially enhancing Bitcoin and Ethereum liquidity and cryptocurrency liquidity. Historically, similar approvals have significantly affected asset performance and market dynamics. Also, financial and regulatory landscapes may experience shifts with institutions drawn by reduced fees and improved accessibility, and surveys and data show significant interest in diversifying their portfolios through crypto investments. Prior to the approvals, like the US spot Bitcoin ETF showed significant capital inflows, the European ETP is also launching to drive price and liquidity hikes for impacted assets, mirroring potential outcomes for a current UK attempt. Experts highlight that previous ETFs and ETP introductions in major markets have been very transformative. Institutional access is viewed as a key step in legitimizing crypto, potentially mirroring past US and European essentially impacts. So WisdomTree has applied for a lot of licenses to be getting approval from the United Kingdom Financial Conduct Authority. They're waiting for their approval to be happening, and 40% of essentially high-profile investors want to be involved inside the digital asset space. I'm guessing their research study was based in the UK because that's where they're aiming for. Now, moving on from WisdomTree's news to the US Supreme Court. So, Trump's tariffs have caused certain problems around the world, and it was something that needed to be done, to be fairly honest. Trump's tariffs needed to be done to essentially to restore a lot of things back to the world, and essentially America to be paid equally by the rest of the world. The amount of money that the US gives to the rest of the world, they don't initially get that back in any sort of a way. Now, US Supreme Court to hear Trump's tariff case. This Supreme Court case against Trump's tariffs may redefine presidential powers and economic policy limits. It prompts significant market interest. So the Supreme Court right now is trying to stop Trump from introducing tariffs on the rest of the world. The US Supreme Court will now decide on tariffs intact by Trump termed Liberation Day tariffs. The US Court of International Trade initially ruled against these measures, citing overreach by the executive branch. The key figures also include Trump and judges from the Court of International Trade who ruled unanimously. The case essentially involving the International Emergency Economic Powers Act highlights key constitutional debates over trade regulations. The decision has impacted key stocks like Apple and Amazon, which saw 3% gains post-judgment. Scott, also essentially professor of NYU, said the court said that only Congress, not the president, has the constitutional authority to regulate and commerce within foreign nations, that emergency powers are not loopholes to bypass that. Stocks like Apple and Amazon each rose about 3% in the market space, was clearly watching. The market's confidence hinges on the outcome of the Supreme Court's upcoming review. The case underscores the delicate balance of power between the executive and the legislation branches. It raises important essential questions on the use of emergency powers in trade policies, on who really handles the power. Is it the President of the United States or is it the Supreme Court? If the Supreme Court is the one that's supposed to be dishing out these types of rules, then what's the point of a United States president? Just being fairly honest. The ruling has led to increased market volatility. Is it all they're looking for is a mouthpiece for the United States president? If they're only looking for a mouthpiece for the United States president, then Kamala would have been the best person because she would have been a great mouthpiece, the same way Sleepy Joe was. That is if he was, because we don't know if he was there. Obama was also a mouthpiece as well, to be fairly honest. The ruling has led to increased market volatility affecting both domestic and global economies. Investors are nearly essentially watching the discussions surrounding these tariffs. Historically, such cases involving executive power and economic actions have seen minimal legal victories, suggesting potential juridical essentially constraints in power interpretations, and previous rulings constrain similar applications of trade policies through emergency powers. So in the past, essentially, they failed. The Supreme Court failed against presidents of the United States, because as they should. That man was chosen to lead that country in the way he sees fit. And he sees it by doing tariffs, because the United States was not paid equally by other countries, which they weren't, to be fairly honest. Facts are facts. Now, moving on, essentially, from the moronic dealings that are happening from the Supreme Court to Cantor Fitzgerald. Cantor Fitzgerald launches a coverage for public companies with Solana treasuries. So Cantor has come out essentially and said, if you are a company out there and you want to safeguard essentially your Solana, then you can use us. Financial services firm Cantor has initiated a coverage for public companies with Solana treasuries. In a note to the clients, the firm's analyst gave the coverage an overweight rating, suggesting that the companies are trading at a premium. According to the analyst led by Thomas, Solana has the potential to become the leading blockchain for digital finance, with more applications likely to surface on the network. Thus, they expect this will boost the value of companies holding SOL, the analyst wrote. With increased liquidity making it easier to raise capital, Solana's treasury companies can follow the Saylor playbook and raise capital at a premium to NAV purchase Solana. So they're basically coming out and saying that more companies should be following Michael Saylor's footsteps, but creating a Solana treasury. The coverage covers essentially the three public companies with SOL treasuries: SOL Strategies, UpXi, and DeFi Development. Currently, their stocks are trading at $2.48, $9.84, and $31.06. However, an analyst has set a price target of essentially $54 for Hold, $16 for UPX, and $45 for the other company, which ticker is DFDV, who are holding Solana in their treasury. According to the analyst, these companies can provide investors with exposure to Solana with tax benefits. He added that these companies can combine SOL treasuries with staking, allowing them to grow their SOL/share faster than BTC treasury companies. Interestingly, he testified that DFDV at its best positioned SOL treasury company due to its access to the US capital markets and crypto essentially native management teams, noting that the company could raise $250 million at a 250% essentially premium average. However, he did also note that SOL Strategies is the most forward-thinking SOL treasury company, even though the company is not currently listed inside the US. The analyst noted that it is already on the final stages of a US listing. And it's the first time that Wall Street analysts will cover SOL Strategies company. Meanwhile, Cantor analysts noted that Solana will outperform Ether because Solana's technology is far better than Ethereum's on every metric. I'll be very honest, yes. But to be fair, most crypto projects are better than Ethereum. That's just the truth. I'm sorry to say, but Ethereum is a treacherous crypto project. The only reason Ethereum got to a level where it is now is because it was funded by Chinese essential investors on day one, and then became a meme blockchain for the longest time, which brought a lot of liquidity to the table for Ethereum. But other than that, it is utter useless, except for the smart contracts. But then a lot of blockchains now offer smart contracts, high-profile blockchains, not the new ones that are popping out of nowhere. But I'm talking about essentially, XLM, XRP, HBAR, Chainlink, and so on. And the list just goes on. Even Solana, even Coinbase is essentially base network. So, and the number one misery with Ethereum, which even if you're an ETH holder, you can't lie about this one, even if you're an ETH holder, the fees are absolutely horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. You want to send $60 to someone and the network could be congested, you could be paying $50 a fee. What's the point? If I bank transfer that person, it'll be cheaper. Honestly, if I want to send my friend money using a Lloyd's bank account or a Barclays bank account or a HSBC bank account, I could do it in seconds inside the United Kingdom. And it's free. Now, if I want to send that same friend Ethereum, I could be paying $20 in fees for that same amount. or $30 or $40 or $50 or $60? What's the point? The whole point of going digital is so it's cheaper, faster, and so on. Ethereum's slow and expensive. So, with Solana saying, they're saying Solana is, better than Ethereum. Most projects are better than Ethereum, to be fairly honest, on every scale. Not even people who hold ETH can essentially object to that in any sort of way. Honestly, I can send money to my friend on HSBC Bank, Barclays Bank, Lloyds Bank for free within seconds. If I use Ethereum, I will get there in 20 minutes and I'll be charged $40 for it. What is the point of that, honestly? As proof of this, the firm noted that the developer's growth in Solana has recently exceeded Ethereum and expects the trend to continue. Thus, they believe it makes more sense for companies to adapt Solana for their treasuries over ETH. It makes more sense for any company to essentially discard ETH and go for any other token out there. They added that the companies that have chosen Solana for their treasuries believe that the asset could one day flip Ethereum despite ETH's market cap currently having a 2.5x its market cap right now. Interestingly, the analyst did not place Solana on the same level as Bitcoin, noting that Bitcoin has established itself as a foundational reserve asset. Still, a bet on Treasury today is an investment in its long-term growth as a transaction network. They wrote, if BTC has solidified itself as a foundational reserve currency or an asset for digital economy, Solana aims to be the technology that powers transactions and marketplaces in digital economies, and the research note essentially represents a significant endorsement of Solana at a time when the network has been actively dropped. What they're referring to is that Solana's network crashed 11 times. The last time Solana's network crashed, it crashed for 4 hours. Standard Chartered Bank's analyst also noted that last month that Solana might be a one-trick pony if it cannot use advantage to attract other use cases where low-cost and high-speed transactions are essentially required. So according to Standard Chartered Bank, Solana is a one-trick pony. Also, to be fair, Standard Chartered Bank is actually partnered with Ripple through their custodian called Zonix. Essentially, that partnership was announced in Dubai. So obviously, Standard Chartered Bank has experienced how fast the XRP ledger is, and essentially how the network doesn't drop, and how essentially quick it is, how cheap it is. So that's why when you experience the XRP ledger or how fast and cheap it is, and then you go to a different chain for transactions, obviously it's like going backwards. So that's why Standard Chartered Bank said it's a one-trick pony. But meanwhile, Cantor notes appears to push more companies to adapt a essentially SOL strategy. The latest to do is Hong Kong's listed essentially meme strategy, which bought 2,440 SOL tokens for around 369,000. So a Hong Kong company named essentially Meme Strategy decided to purchase Solana. Makes sense. Solana is known as the meme token blockchain, and that is the truth. Now, Kraken. Moving on from Solana to Kraken. Kraken takes a bold step with Inc. token launch. So everybody must know, if you're inside the crypto space, you would know of a company called Kraken Exchange. And they're quite massive. They have a lot of licensing, a lot of approvals. They're very big in the EU and in the Middle East, in the countries like essentially United Arab Emirates. So here it is. In a move that differentiates it from other cryptocurrency exchanges, Kraken has introduced the Inc. network along with its own token, setting itself apart from its peers like Coinbase, which has refined essentially from issuing tokens under regulatory scrutiny. The Inc. network, a counterpart to Coinbase's base network, plans to roll out Inc. token, an executive airdrop as a part of its launch strategy. Unveiling its distinct edge, the Inc. Foundation underscores that the focus of the Inc. token lies not in speculative trading or price shifts, but in a tangible application diverging from conventional setups to foundational emphasizes a user-centered token model as an optimal approach for its broader market adoption. The Inc. Foundation highlighted no hype, no governance feature, but compatible incentives from day one. from credit to trading and beyond. Inc. Foundation envisions a future where Inc. supports a robust DeFi ecosystem managed by its users and aligns with their success. Those essentially engaged in Inc. liquidity pools on DeFi platforms on either will be initial candidates for the upcoming airdrop. By funneling essentially its efforts via an associated foundation, Kraken seeks to essentially avert legal issues through finer points on an airdrop remain undisclosed as multiple distributions anticipate. The Inc. network finds itself integrated with Optimism, Superchain's framework, positioning alongside accumulated such entities like Base and Uniswap. The association grants access to enhanced security features and technological advancements for Ethereum's layer 2 solutions. Nonetheless, the external pressures, such as essentially escalating oil prices and geopolitical tensions, have tampered with possible surges in Optimism values. From these developments, several key points emerge. Kraken's decision to essentially issue an Inc. token signifies a strict deviation from rivals under regulatory pressures. The emphasis on real-world utility for the Inc. token marks a deliberate shift away from speculative value. Integration with essentially Superchain provides interoperability benefits and expanded access with Inc. network participants. Looking ahead, Kraken aligns with Coinbase in its trajectory essentially towards a public stock offering set for early 2026, marking another pivotal milestone in its broader financial endeavors. Important updates also we're going to talk about next. So, moving on from Kraken's Inc. token. But if you do want to go check it out, Kraken has just launched some sort of a campaign to essentially go up against, Coinbase's base network by creating their own Inc. Foundation. Inc. token is on the way. If you want to go check it out, Kraken token, Kraken exchange is a very legitimized, essentially exchange. They're fully licensed in a lot of jurisdictions around the world as well. Now, what we're going to be talking about next is Franklin Templeton. Before we talk about Franklin Templeton, let's go to the comment section first. As I previously, this is live, which means if you do have any questions or comments to make, put it down in the comment section. So let's go to the comment section first, and then we go straight into the next news. Free crypto. Let's go, Mike. Evening, Miles and CMF. Pierce, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? XRP to the moon. JP, let's go. Good to see you. How you doing? JP Facts, absolutely. Woodhouse, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? But JP, absolutely facts. XRP to the moon. JP says BTC to the sea. Ray says Miles spitting all facts tonight as always. All free to like, share, and comment for support. Let's go CMF Facts. If you haven't liked or retweeted this live right now and you're watching this on X, like and retweet if you want to. Now, important updates is what we talk about next. From Franklin Templeton. So, Franklin Templeton has made essentially, obviously, just like any other company out there, an ETF filing for XRP. So here's the new details. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has delayed making a decision regarding the XRP ETF filed by Franklin Templeton. Makes sense. I'll tell you why. Because the XRP case isn't done. So the Ripple case isn't finished. And that's why they essentially delayed the decision on an XRP ETF. I said this a while ago. I said it's going to be very confusing for the SEC to approve an XRP ETF while there's a Ripple case going on, because they have that going on, but yet they approve an ETF for it. I said they can do, if they want to approve an ETF for it, it's their choice. They can do it if they want to, but might create a bit of a confusion. It's better for the case to go away and then the ETFs to be approved immediately, because they don't need to delay it then. Because the only excuse for delaying a crypto ETF would be for the SEC we need to look into this crypto project before we approve it. But to be fair, the SEC has looked into Ripple, the XRP ledger, XRP token itself for the longest time. The only crypto project they've had the most access to is the XRP ledger. So once that case is dropped, there should be no delaying whatsoever from the SEC, because they don't need to look into it anymore. They've looked at the XRP ledger head to toe, and Ripple itself, and the CEOs, and the board members, and the executive members. Everything about Ripple they know head to toe. So there's no delaying after that. But the United States Securities and Exchange Commission has delayed making a decision regarding the XRP ETF filed by Franklin Templeton. Moreover, the Commission is now essentially inviting public comment on whether to approve or deny the proposal, which has formally essentially proposed for listing the Chicago Broad Options Exchange, CBOE. The deadline for submitting comments and essentially rebuttals is set for late July. It's worth noting that the Franklin Templeton is currently the largest company to have filed for a spot XRP ETF, and this delay is not indicative of essentially the Commission's decision to list the product. These extensions are well within its jurisdiction and are considered relatively expected. Now, on the matters of the Ripple case. Ripple makes fresh filing. So we all know that, the SEC and Ripple came together again and put another filing through. Well, Ripple also did a side filing, you could say. So here it is. Ripple makes a fresh filing in the quest to end the XRP lawsuit once and for all. Ripple Labs has essentially submitted a new supplement letter to Judge Torres in the Southern District of New York, reinforcing its push to finalize a negotiated settlement with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC. This latest filing marks another step towards ending the long-running legal battle over XRP's regulatory status. The update was essentially first shared by prominent crypto legal analyst James Kay on X, who posted images of the court documents filed essentially on June 17th. In the letter, Ripple joins the previously submitted joint motion with the SEC and provides further clarification to support the request for inductive ruling. In the letter, Ripple makes it clear that it is not asking the courts to overturn or revise the summary judgment order issued in July 2023. That landmark ruling found that Ripple's institutional XRP sales violated security laws, while programmatic sales on exchanges did not. Ripple states that the settlement does not seek to essentially observe of the compliance of the security laws. Rather, the company remains bound by the summary judgment and any essentially future injunctions the court may impose. The letter emphasizes that Ripple will continue to comply with all legal obligations, whether or not an injunction is ultimately issued. This classification aims to dispel any misconception that Ripple is attempting to reverse the court's previous findings. Ripple's filings urge the court to consider the broader benefits of approving the settlement. Especially, it argues that the negotiated resolutions would significantly reduce the burden on both Judge Torres, Doct, and the Second Circuit's courts without disrupting the substance of court's previous rulings. The company also essentially highlights the SEC's evolving approach to digital assets, citing the agency's crypto task force and recent comments on creating essentially a clearer path for crypto regulations. Ripple argues that resolving the case through a settlement aligns with the broader regulatory shift. As one of the earliest crypto companies targeted by the SEC, Ripple contends that it has been subjected to this improperly drawn-out litigations, which is absolute facts. The company believes the settlement would place it at an equal footing with other firms whose essentially cases were resolved much earlier or dismissed outright. With the supplement letter now on record, attention turns to Judge Torres, whose forthcoming decision will determine whether the settlement can proceed. A favorable ruling could finally bring closure to one of the most high-profile legal battles in the crypto history, while also setting a precedent for how similar cases might be resolved in the near future. Ripple's latest filings underscores its commitment to compliance, its desire for finality, and its ongoing efforts to help shape a more consistent and transparent regulatory environment for a broader crypto industry. So, alongside, obviously Ripple and SEC coming to a conclusion by themselves, but the Judge Torres is actually saying the filings on second courts and so on, Ripple also made a side filing saying to essentially Judge Torres, look, we've both come to a conclusion. You just need to give it a green light, and it'll be less of a burden for you, the second circuit courts, for the SEC, and for us. Let's just end it once and for all. Now, which is great news to be fair. Look, this case is going to end this year. Quarter 3, quarter 4 is always when I say it's going to be ending this year no matter what. Now, sticking on the topic of Ripple and XRP, ACH, Alchemy Pay, has come out with an announcement. Alchemy Pay, ACH, has partnered with Ripple. So, Alchemy Pay unlocks seamless ORL/USD access globally through fiat on-ramp. The world of cryptocurrencies is consistently evolving, bridging the gap between traditional finance and digital asset space. A significant step in this direction has just been announced, promising to make access to digital assets easier than ever before. Alchemy Pay, a leading crypto payment gateway, and Alchemy Pay has a tremendous amount of licenses worldwide as well. Alchemy Pay, a leading crypto payment gateway, has officially teamed up with Ripple. ACH and Ripple are together, pretty much. They've teamed up to enable a crucial service for Ripple's recently announced fully backed stablecoin, ORL/USD. This collaboration is centered around providing robust fiat unwrapped crypto services, especially for ORL/USD. Announced by Alchemy Pay's official channels, the partnership leverages Alchemy Pay's extensive network to allow users worldwide to convert their local fiat currencies directly into RLUSD. This removes significant friction typically associated with entering the crypto markets, especially for stablecoins. For those unfamiliar with essentially a fiat on-ramp, it's essentially a service that allows individuals to use traditional money like US dollars, euros, Great British pounds, etc. to buy cryptocurrencies directly, often through familiar payment methods such as bank transfers, credit cards, or local payment systems. By integrating this service for RLUSD, Alchemy Pay is making it straightforward for users in a vast number of regions to acquire Ripple's new stablecoin. This partnership between Alchemy Pay and Ripple for RLUSD's fiat on-ramp is indicative of a larger trend in the crypto space. The increasing focus on usability and integration with the traditional essentially financial systems, as stablecoins like RLUSD aim for a wider adoption, like RLU essentially an easy and reliable fiat on-ramps become non-negotiable necessities. This development not only benefits individuals and users, but also lays the groundwork for businesses looking to interact with digital assets. A readily essentially accessible stablecoin like RLUSD, backed by major entities like Ripple and easily essentially purchasable via global payment gateways like Alchemy Pay, has the potential to be used for cross-border payment settlements and various decentralized financial DeFi applications. Users interested in utilizing this new service should look for essentially platforms, exchange, or wallets that integrate Alchemy Pay's fiat on-ramp solutions, and the partnership between Ripple and Alchemy Pay to provide a comprehensive fiat on-ramp for RLUSD stablecoins across 173 countries marks a significant leap forward in digital essentially assets for more accessible global usage. By leveraging Alchemy Pay's robust crypto payment gateway infrastructure and a wide network of local payment methods, acquiring RLUSD is set to become easier and more convenient for millions of potential users around the world. So, Alchemy Pay, in other words ACH, has just partnered with Ripple. RLUSD is going on Alchemy Pay, and it's going to bring more liquidity to the table. So we have USDC essentially on the XRP ledger, which is incredible. The EVM essentially bridge to bring liquidity over from Ethereum to the XRP ledger. And now we have essentially Alchemy Pay, which has a tremendous amount of licenses worldwide, partnering with Ripple, bringing RLUSD to the table. Incredible news on that matter. Day by day, we're getting more announcements of partnerships on Ripple. And a lot of people are wondering, where is the price movement on XRP? We're getting so many announcements coming in for essentially Ripple's movements and footsteps in the markets because the prices move. The case is that needs to go away. As I've said previously, that's the first green light. The second green light is regulations. Third green light is essentially utility straight after regulations. The first green light we're going to get very, very soon from this case. This case is going to be done. It's already should have been done a long time ago. The second green light regarding regulations, we're about to get a stablecoin regulation happening very soon in the United States with Genius Act about to be getting for its second voting. And well, after that, it's just pretty much utility, to be fairly honest. And on that note, we have also come to the endings of tonight's live. That was the ending of tonight's live. That was the last news on tonight's live. And on tonight's live, we talked about essentially Alchemy Pay in terms of Ripple partnership. We talked about on tonight's live regarding Ripple making fresh filing. So I gave you an update of what's happening with essentially the Ripple filing with the SEC. We talked about Kraken Exchange launching their own Inc. Foundation Inc. token. We talked about on tonight's live also regarding Cantor launching a Solana essentially feature for institutions. We talked about the US Supreme Court to hear Trump's tariff case. We also went through topics like Wisdom Tree awaiting a UK Financial Conduct Authority application. We talked about the Spanish bank BBVA advising their wealthiest clients to get involved in cryptocurrencies. We went through the Malaysian central bank news regarding launching a digital sandbox. We also talked about JP Morgan piloting their own blockchain deposit tokens on the Coinbase base network. We also talked about on tonight's live regarding the matters of the Genius Act that could strengthen the dollar's power. This Genius Act is about to be passed in the United States regarding stablecoins. We also went through news regarding ex-OpenAI, essentially launch of crypto happening, ex-OpenAI employees coming together, creating a crypto platform. We talked about JD Group, a Chinese company launching essentially into the stablecoin market space, trying to get a tremendous amount of licenses to their belt. We also talked about the biggest topic that's happening around the world right now, which is Iran versus Israel. Or you could even pretty much say the rest of the world versus Iran right now, because nobody likes the Iranian government and everybody's waiting for the downfall of the Iranian government. And I'm so happy that this day has finally come after 46 years. After 46 years, The people of Iran are going to be freed from this treacherous, horrendous, corrupt Islamic Republic of Iran regime that's about to be completely removed by Israel. So as I said before, thank you, Israel, for freeing the Iranian people and for returning the favor, you could say. As I said previously, the Persian Empire helped the Jews and freed the Jews. During the Persian Empire time, they freed the Jews. The Jews sent a letter to Cyrus the Great. Cyrus the Great read the letter, essentially, and sent his army to free the Jews. If fast forward to 2025, Israel is returning the favor by freeing the Iranian people from their own treacherous government. Amazing to see, honestly. And that is also going to be affecting the market space for the time being. But let's see what happens tomorrow. Let's see what's going to be happening tonight between Iran and Israel. The faster the Iranian government gets removed, the faster the market could return back to normal. Okay, let's go into the conversation before we do leave, obviously. And if you were watching this for the first time ever, this is called the CMF Live. It stands for Crypto Mouse Family. My name is Miles. You can tune into this live Monday to Friday, 10 p.m. London time, as always. And this is episode 320 of the CMF Live. This is episode 320 of the CMF Live right now. You're watching right now. Tune in for episode 321 tomorrow, where I talk about Monday to Friday about the recent news that's happening around the world in terms of cryptocurrencies, CBDCs, AI, politics, and regulations. Pretty much everything you need to know about the world, what's happening around you, and how close we are to a digital future. So tune in tomorrow for episode 321 of the CMF Live. And if you have liked and retweeted this live, thank you so much to everybody that's done that. If you're watching us on X, if you're watching us on YouTube and you've liked the live, thank you so much as well. If you followed me or subscribed to me during this live, thank you so much as well. And welcome to the CMF. And tune in every single night, Monday to Friday. Before we do go, obviously, let's go to the comment section. Miles, you have you done any updates to your portfolio? No, I'll be honest. Kept it the same. Good night, Miles, and all the CMF. Thank you for a great live and great news. Let's go, JP. Night, Miles and CMF. Pablo, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Mike, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Carol, good night, Miles and CMF. Let's go, Carol. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Dang, time flies. Great live, as always. Take care, Miles and CMF. Let's go, Ray. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. Israel still doing wrong with Gaza. Nice work, Miles. Michael, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual. When can we expect price movements? Price movements we're not that far from price movements, to be fairly honest. But the faster the Iranian government gets removed, the faster we can move on with the market. I'll be very honest. The Iranian government is a nuisance to everybody. Honestly, they're a nuisance to their own people. They're a nuisance to the world, to the Middle East, and for the crypto and stock market. Honestly, it's just a nuisance to everybody. The faster they get removed, the faster the markets can move on a positive step. But alongside of what's happening over there, over here, we do have regulations coming in for the crypto space as well in the West. Now, on that note, this is the ending, as I said, of tonight's live show. Tune in tomorrow for episode 321 of the CMF Live. I'll see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual, 10 p.m. London time. Love you all. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual.